Good morning, friends. Welcome to episode, I think it's 165 of the Winnies and Knits podcast. I'll talk about knitting first, and then I'll talk about Winnies on the way out to the barn. So the knitting updates include a major destash I did last weekend. And I'll show that to you, what my current yarn stash is and what I plan to do with it. So let's get walking to the barn.
Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinna. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest, where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wildhorse adoption program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon.
Of course, on the way to the barn, I want to just share some gardening updates. So that's a zucchini that looks like it has at least 1 male flower so far. And that zucchini up there, we have harvested several and enjoyed several zucchini. There's another zucchini out there. We like zucchini, which is good. There's mint, kale, and then this beautiful cabbage. Look at that cabbage that I think is ready to harvest. And then this zucchini, I don't think I've harvested anything, but it's got a lot of flowers on it, at least a lot of male flowers, which some people like to batter and fry. My beans, some cucumbers that are on their way out. I harvested 7 cucumbers the other day. I have a fairly good greens pot, some more brassicas, something that's flowering. I'm honestly not sure what this is. I thought it was a melon, but sometimes I think it's a cucumber. There's a zucchini that's on its way out. That's an eggplant that I've gotten exactly 1 eggplant from. I'm not sure if I'm going to get any more. And then tomatoes and some winter squash has started. So August is a great time to start plants because the soil's very warm. We lose a lot of daylight. So tomatoes there. There's a couple cherry tomatoes I need to harvest. And there's chard. And did I already point out that zucchini? I think I did. Anyway, August is a great time to plant because the soil's warm and the seeds germinate very rapidly. Oftentimes I can get a harvest in before our first freeze, which is usually sometime in November. Winnie's news. My trainer was out, what day was that? Tuesday, and she worked with both horses, mostly in the round pen. You can see my shadow on that big cedar tree there. Bragi is doing just so well with the trailer. We're not working with him in the trailer every week. So we're just working on some other more, I would say, emotional fitness. He gets riled up, I guess is a good word, anytime there's a little bit of pressure, and that might include a request to trot, a request to change directions. So, you know, we've just been working him through that, saying, hey buddy, this isn't hard. You just need to use your brain. But he's very emotional about it. Odin, we're still working on like body control and balance and things like that. And when my trainer asked him to trot, he was limping on one side. And part of it is that the ground has been really hard lately. Hi, boys. And he's starting to shed some of the sole of his hoof, which is a normal process, but there can be, in that process, there can be some little hard lumps which kind of act like rocks. So we've been just working on some other things, just like stopping on voice command. Bragi's a pest, a big pest, and he tries to boss Odin around, and Odin lets him. I'm not sure why. Odin doesn't like drama. Hi, cutie. Bragi creates drama. But I'm gonna just shove Odin out of Bragi's stall. Don't touch the fence, ding dong. Yeah, I mean, you can hear it. So it's on. It's not very wise. Yeah. Anyway, one of my goals for Odin is I would really like to ride bareback and bridleless someday, and I want to learn the skills how to do that. So that's what we are working on. I don't have a time frame for that goal. I am just going to take it as it comes, because it's fun to learn new things. I love riding bareback, even though last time I fell off. You need to go to your own stall. Do you need an escort? So I want to improve those skills. Hi, Bragi, you're in the right place. Okay, I'm going to get to feeding. Welcome to the knitting portion of this podcast. Let me silence the text. I'm going to run through my knitting projects and talk about what I'm wearing and talk about the Destash that I did and what I have left and what my plans are. So, unfortunately, I left my notes downstairs, but I will make up for it next time, I guess, if I've forgotten anything. So first of all, let's start with what I'm wearing. I had a cardigan on over this, and I'm kind of looking for the pattern because it's a great pattern. It's made from, oh, here it is. It's a great pattern. It's by Rebecca Clow, or the Crayabea, and it's basically, I don't think I did the V-neck version. I did more the one that's this green one, except mine is gray. You've seen it before if you have been watching for a while. But I just came in from the barn and I'm awfully warm. So my plan is to wear this tank top today, and I wear a tank top under it. You know, I kind of don't need to. It's just a habit that I have. But this is a Barocco pattern, and I believe it's called Carden, C-A-R-D-E-N. I'll put links to these projects in the show notes. It's made out of a yarn, a Barocco yarn, quinoa, which is a cotton blend. It's getting very warm again. It's supposed to be in the low 80s today and the mid 80s tomorrow, and then it slowly starts tapering. So this is, I'm hoping, the last hurrah for summer. It's been a little bit chilly in the morning. Yesterday I wore a fleece vest over a long sleeve shirt, and usually by afternoon, we are losing so much daylight in August. I think I read here in the Pacific Northwest, especially, you know, we're up in the North Puget Sound area, we lose like 90 minutes of daylight just in August. So in just about a month, we're going to be down to 12 hours of daylight a day. So right now it's getting light around, I would say around 6 a.m.-ish. And then it's getting dark, I'm guessing around 8:30-ish. I don't really know. My eyes are closed by then. So let me run through, well, let me show you a finished object. I just finished them this morning. These are the Buttercup socks. This is made from a woolen women yarn that I got during retail therapy earlier in the spring. So I believe this is the April colorway. And you can see, maybe you can see, there's just like a little bit of a lace pattern, fairly simple pattern. It's heel flap and gusset with a slightly different stitch pattern. I'm not sure if you can see the actual pattern with this dark yarn. This mini I bought separately. It did not come with it, but these are great. I've been making my socks just a little bit too big, so I am going to have to adjust that, and I'll talk more about socks in my knitting plans. Also, what I have going on, oh, before I leave that, so this was a bag that came in that, in the Woolen Women box, and there's also, the theme was denim and daisies, and so there was also this, this candle that came with it. It's a soy wax candle that's very fragrant, so we keep the lid on that, but it's beautiful. I use Chogu red lace, size 0 needles, magic loop for all my socks, and sometimes still manage to make them too big. I have this much yarn left, so quite a lot. And then this is the mini. So I'm going to put some in my blanket, my 100 acre wood blanket, which I did not, yes I did. I did bring it up with me. And then I'm going to put the rest in my scrap pile that I am going to do something with. Speaking of blanket, let's talk about that. So this is in a bag made by my mom. I love the horse fabric. Simple drawstring bag. And this is 100 acre wood. It's a mitered square blanket pattern that Kay Jones developed for her patrons. So I remember that the pink square was 20, and so I have 21 and 22 here, and I'm going to make it 25 long and 25 across. So I have a little stitch marker or progress keeper. I don't know if you can see that with the yarn hanging in the way, but it's a little mushroom, very cute. I got that at Fiber Fusion in June. And then I have, this is actually my progress keeper. This one is telling me which is the right side, which should be fairly obvious. This is my progress keeper. So that's where I was last time. So I am going to move that up to, so this is the lobster claw type, which is not as convenient as some, because it does tend to get caught. So I will move this up to the top, and we'll see where I am next time. Typically I just knit these on, work on this on Scrappy Sunday. In this bag, I have my Ghost Horses project, Caitlin Hunter. This is what the sweater looks like. I'm going to make it long sleeve, I think. I'm sure I have enough yarn. So I mentioned last time that I do knit it inside out so that the right side is facing me, but I put the wrong side out so that the floats have more stretch. The needle stoppers are from Carrie of My Wool Mitten. She sent me a lovely care package when I injured my right shoulder in January. And then this is what it looks like. So let's see where the beginning of round is back here. So we'll see if, so still very much on the yoke. I probably have another 30 or so rows for the yoke, but it's knitting up so nicely. I'm using 2 different weights of yarn. I'm using a spin cycle. That's this purpley color. It's a variegated purple color. It is a sport weight. And I am using a fingering weight, and it's a Brooklyn Tweed. They are, actually, I think the Brooklyn Tweed is almost a little bit heavier, although follow the string. So here are the 2 yarns. So I'm enjoying the heck out of this project. I'm gonna have to sort this out. I have little yarn cups in here that are supposed to keep the yarn organized, but since they are balls and not cakes, it's not organizing it as well as I would like, but that's okay. The rest of them are cakes. I just kind of screwed up the winding up. So I ended up winding them in balls by hand. So this is the float tote. I crocheted it earlier this year. It is, it's called a float tote because it does have these yarn cups that organize your yarn when you're using more than one color. I have 3 cups in here. I only typically use 2 colors at a time when I'm doing color work. Somebody honked outside, so I assume there was an animal on the road or something like that. I mean, there certainly can be bunnies and deer and stuff like that, so occasionally mountain lions. So that's why it's called the float tote. It is intended to keep your color work projects organized, and generally it works pretty well. In this bag, another bag made by my mom, so penguins on one side, polar bears on the other, Christmassy themed, I have the So Faded. That's my actual yarn storage bag, and in this bag, also made by my mom, I have the actual project. So this is the So Faded sweater by Andrea and Mowry. That's what it looks like. I'm doing a 3 color fade, and I am using another Woolen Women yarn. And I'm just on the yoke still. So this is a fingering weight yarn, fingering weight project. Here is the Progress Keeper. It's a horseshoe. This was a Kentucky Derby colorway. It was the May Woolen Women. So I don't know if you can see the little horseshoe. Very cute. I'm actually holding it upside down. It's going to go like this. And then the beginning of round, which is hiding behind these 2 cute Scottish Highland steer stitch stoppers, is a mint julep. I don't know if you can see that. So super fun. This is usually my evening knitting. It's very simple. I mean, I'm still doing increases every other round, so I need to pay attention. And also, the sleeves are garter stitch, so I have to remember to purl. But I'm gonna love the sweater. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna have it done in time. Maybe by the end of September, and it'll still be great to wear then. So the other colors that I'm going to fade in are this purple, or this pink and this purple. Here's my little gauge swatch tagging along there. I've never done a faded project before. So, but I really love the idea, since it's fun to use different colored yarn for different things. I've also, because I destashed, I found projects that have been languishing for a long time. So I have knit dishcloths for a long time, and I have these set of wooden needles that I use for that. And this was actually a project, leftover project from a they're beanie bags. So years ago, Jimmy Bean's Wool used to offer these monthly little kits that came in a little bag like this. And I'll talk about this one in a minute, but this one, I didn't like the project that came in that bag, so I used the yarn for a dishcloth. It's all cotton yarn, so that's great. Slightly different weights, but it doesn't matter. It's a dishcloth. So I've been working on this, and it's been super fun. I have some, like if you can see the gnome stitch stopper. So that was from a Polka Dot Creek Advent. And this bag was made by a friend of mine who I used to work with, and we used to have our own little knitting club. So this is a lined bag, but it's also a very simple drawstring bag, and it's perfect for dishcloths or socks. So I wanted to talk about these beanie bags. So I kept the subscription for a long time, even though I wasn't keeping up. And then it dawned on me, it's like, oh, I probably ought to stop the subscription, but it's just so fun to open. And it was really affordable. It was only like $10 a month. They don't offer them anymore, but what they do is they give you a small quantity of yarn that's just hand wound. So they usually give you 4 little samples. That dishcloth, I'm going to have some leftover yarn. So it seems insignificant, but it's not. And they're usually just different kinds of yarn that they carry, or maybe they're going to discontinue. And they give you a little pattern with it. So super fun. It's a crochet pattern or a knit pattern. Both come. And then in this particular case, it is these coasters. So I did gather the needles for that. I haven't cast anything on, but since I finished my socks, I may cast these on after I'm done here. And then there's a bit about the yarn. So this yarn is all plant fiber based, and if I put on my glasses, I might be able to tell you what they are. So linen, and then there's a nylon, cotton, linen with viscose, which is a wood byproduct from bamboo, and then a baby bamboo. I assume that the baby bamboo is this, am I right? Is this little piece of gray? Nope, this has nylon in it. Never mind. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think I'm going to cast those on. And you get about 15 yards of each. And what I usually do, it gives you the colors A, B, C, and D, and I usually write them down. And it's pretty random. My friend and I were doing this for a while, and we would always get different colored yarns. So it was nice to just write them down, because the tags, this one's very secure, but these tags in these little bits are, they're all bunched up in this little bag. And you get this cool little bag, and there's usually a theme about it. So this one is obviously summer sports. So I'm going to work on that. So I'm going to use Chow Goo red lace. The needles are a size 3, US size 3, 3.25 millimeter. Super fun. So let's talk about stash, shall we? I have a PT appointment, so I have my alarm set. I have 11 minutes, so hopefully we can get through the destash. So I'll show you the yarn, how I store my yarn. So I'm going to turn you around. So I have yarn in this linen closet, and what I have here is a bunch of knit picks. So this is gloss. This is leftover from that t-shirt that I recently made, the Bright Axis tee. And I have a bunch of, and this is all fingering weight. I have a bunch of Brooklyn Tweed, and I have some blue and yellow in this kind of overtones. It's a little bit coarse, and it's kind of a light blue and a light, yeah, here we go. Here's a gold. I'm going to bring that out in the light so you can see it. It's kind of a gold, and then there's a blue. There's more pink. So I have an idea, I think, for a sweater for the pink. I just looked on the Ravelry and Barocco yarns, and I think I found a sweater, and here's the blue. So I have enough of the blue and the gold for a shawl that's it's called the Rugby Shawl, that I have favored. Here is a bunch of cotton yarn. This is where that cardigan I was talking about, the one by the Crayabea, is made out of, and I probably have enough yarn for another one. Here is leftover cotton yarn. I can make dishcloths out of those, so some of that's from the float tote. Here is a bunch of Rowan yarn. I have a pattern in mind for that I'm not remembering at the moment, but hopefully I'll update my show notes here. Here is the original yarn that I was going to put in that Ghost Horses, but as you can see, it's fairly dark, and I didn't think there was going to be enough contrast. So I have basically at least part of a sweater quantity for this. This yarn was gifted to me. It is a lace weight. It's a light blue, and I think I'm going to make another mini mock neck tank out of it. I think it's more of a summery fiber. It's a Juniper Moon yarn, but I don't think it's 100% wool. I have some alpaca here. It's 2 skeins of brown, I think, or maybe I have that backwards. 2 skeins of black and 1 skein of brown, lace weight. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. I may do a fade, so something, it's lace weight. Sorry, I'm pointing you outward as I'm talking. I'm very undecided about this yarn. It's mohair with a lace weight. I'm not a huge fan of mohair. I do have one mohair sweater finish. It's the Love Note, and also one on the needles, but I don't know. This may end up in the Destash pile. And this is just a bunch of yarn that I have separated by color, by type. So DK Swish. Here is a black yarn. Sorry for the crinkling. This is a Barocco. It's an Arno sweater quantity. So what I have, all that to say, I probably have about 20 sweaters worth of yarn in here, and it's mostly DK weight. Although there are a couple lace. So normally this goes in that closet. So here is my box of bags. Some Randy made this one, some canvas bags, and then just mostly, I usually keep the bags that my mom made downstairs. So, and then in this are my sock. It's my sock yarn. So I'm wearing socks made from this, and that is a West Yorkshire Spinners. I think I have about 20 pairs of socks. So this is a holiday sock set I bought quite a few years ago, or I want to say it was a few years ago. I feel like we were in Door County, Wisconsin, visiting. I was visiting my mom and my sister, and we took a trip up there. We were on Lake Michigan. And then I have these Halloween Club yarns from Freckled Whimsy. This is a Hue Loco set. Here's another Freckled Whimsy. So I am more Freckled Whimsy. So these are, this is Advent yarn, Legacy Fiber Arts Advent yarn. This is Nativity, more Freckled Whimsy. So I am going to knit. My knitting plans include this for Christmas, so during December, and then I'm going to do Sockaween with the Knit Along with the Bakery Bears, and I'm not quite sure. I may do this one because this was part of the Halloween Club. Happy Pinkoween is the colorway. So that's kind of what I am thinking. But what I did is I gathered up all the leftover yarn. Turn you back around. All the leftover yarn that I knew I wasn't going to make into a project. The, the fibers. So it was like leftover quinoa yarn, which is kind of an unusual fiber blend. It's not the normal wool and whatnot. I took all the other scraps, the bulky weight, the non-wool, the scraps, not scraps. I mean, there was definitely full skeins and, quantity of yarn. And I stuffed like 3 plastic grocery bag, stuffed full, and took it to a charity shop that's nearby. We had a whole bunch of clothes. We both cleaned out closets and books. I cleaned out bookshelves. I was in a organizational frenzy last weekend. And they happily took all that leftover yarn. So I'm feeling a lot more inspired to start projects because I know where these projects or what type of project these yarns are going in. So that's really, really exciting. I've started giving away some knitted items too. I gave away a bulky weight sweater that's made out of acrylic yarn. I gave away a poncho. I gave away a knitted scarf, and so it just feels really good. I just feel lighter because of it, and it doesn't pay to be terribly attached to things. So on that note, I think I'm going to end this here so I can get to my PT appointment on time, finish my cup of tea, and I have some errands to run. And we are going to Seattle this afternoon to pick up Mom at the airport because she is visiting. So she's flying up here to attend her, I think it's her 60-year high school class reunion. So we will have her here tonight. Her classmate is coming to pick her up tomorrow morning, and then she's spending the night with that classmate. And then we will pick her up on Sunday morning and take her back to the airport. So it's a very quick trip. We will get most of our socializing time in the car, which is fine. It's good quality time. So it's supposed to be a warm weekend. I have a lot of gardening, switching out things to do. So I talked about that in the walk to the barn and kind of garden catch up, that there's some plants that are really pretty much done, so they need to be replaced with some of the starts that are ready to go out. So on that note, I wish you a fond farewell. Thank you for watching, and take care.